Let's have a look at these semi-finals. Otago versus Bay of Plenty. What are your thoughts on Bay of Plenty's chances going to Otago to pick up that win and make their way into the big dance again?
They definitely have a chance. I think, playing in those kind of conditions, especially at Forsyth, will definitely help with the players that they do have. And I think, Kurt Eklund could be a big loss. You look at the stitches that he had on his face. I think in terms of the set piece wise, he's a big part of what they do. So I think set piece wise, not having Kurt, if he does play, I'm not too sure, might be tough. But I really enjoyed the second half. Like, I think it was a pretty not a pedestrian style from Tasman, but they kind of did go into the pressure game, and I guess they probably were trying to limit the attacking side of what we saw with the Bay of Plenty. But I think their click attack they scored in the 60th minute, and being able to, I guess, hold on to the pressure that was coming from the kick game from Tasman, they were able to score tries off that. And I think, the penalty try to be able to win the game as well, they stayed in it in that second half. So I think the experience of what they've probably shown the last 2 to 3 years, losing a final, getting a win against a Tasman team, which I think, is a tough way to win sometimes when you're playing that kind of pressure cycle game, a few moments here and there, and they were able to do it in that second half. So there's definitely enough for them there. I think there's a lot of experience within that group as well. I think Lucas Cashmore played a really good role when it was pivotal with Sinton, a young 9 that played well. But I think also Richard Judd, when he came on in that second half and his experience was shown, they did enough to be able to get the win against Tasman on the weekend.
I think you've got to look back to the Auckland game and the Waikato game and just look how accurate the kick strategy of Otago is. They score so many points from effort areas in their kick chase, but also their kick choice. With Miller, Gilbert, Pledger or Hasty, and even Umanga Jensen and Nareki, they kick 33 times for over 1,000 metres, and they know how to execute that strategy under the roof. It's not like when the Highlanders won in 2015, it was the same. You had Bender, you had Nuggy, Lima. They almost strangle you into this false sense of security that you're catching the backfield and you're under the roof and you can razzle-dazzle, and they force you into errors. So I honestly think, and I agree with Brent, I think Bay of Plenty's kick strategy the other day was first class as well. But I have a feeling that if they are allowed to dictate terms via the boot, Otago, with home ground advantage, they probably go in as favourites.
Kurt Eklund's injury.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's one of the most gruesome things I've seen.
And it was a sprig. Was it the sprig when he tackled?
And
it must have just...
like the Joker.
Yeah. But it was like unga, and then there was down here. 60 stitches. He's bounced back as Kurtie E does. He takes life pretty well, to be fair. Most people would be in pain, but he's shared the footage, and that would...
That's nasty.
I know he'll be confident of getting back if they get another week, but...
Yeah. You won't be seeing his tight spiral for a couple of weeks.
No. And it's probably all too inviting for an opposition player to just check it out.
Yeah, get the finger in there. Because, he's so into fishing.
Yeah, well, that's what he said. Because I was travelling when the game was, I hadn't seen the game, and then him and Naitoa were doing that thing, and they said he'd been fish hooked, and I was like, who's done that? That's a really good job. I can't believe, for 15 minutes, I thought that was done by a finger. But, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely brutal either way. So, you think Otago?
Yeah, I'm just going home.
You're going home advantage, Otago, then through.
And the Miller, Gilbert, I don't know, they've got something going at the moment.
They're a smart team. And you're Otago as well, Brenna?
No, I'm going to go Bay of Plenty. Yeah, I'm going to go Bay of Plenty. I think, just with kind of things that I did talk about, I think the experience, then being able to be there or thereabouts the last couple of years, I think they get over the hurdle. And I think, again, it's Otago's probably first time being in this position for quite a while, especially in a semi-final and this kind of level. So does that play into what can happen pressure-wise? I'm not too sure. I just think I'm just going to take the experience of Bay of Plenty in the last couple of years and the way that they're able to finish that second half. I think there's enough there for them to get the job done in Forsyth.
Just looking at my notes here, the point I didn't bring up about Bay of Plenty, they've created the slowest ball. So everyone has a crack at the breakdown. So that will create opportunities of space, but Otago are going to need to be very, very clinical with their clean-out, their attacking clean-out.
Right, and they get strangled.
Yeah.
Right, okay, what about Canterbury versus Hawke's Bay? I was a little bit surprised. I thought that Taranaki might win that game, Brennan. Just, seeing it on paper and seeing how they've gone, and the fact that they went there and put 60 points on them in Hawke's Bay last year. They weren't afraid of going there. But, what do you think about Hawke's Bay's chances against Canterbury?
The blueprint for them is to be able to win the physicality breakdown around the hard defence. Because if you are able to do that with the likes of, the Whailangi, even Greg, I think even Milan as well was really good in and around those short quarters. Flanders, those guys, if they're able to get on the front foot ball, four of the tries that they were able to score on the weekend, Falau Fakatava was big in and around being able to help towards them get results around that, because at the moment, his ability to be able to play with ball in hand and his decision-making around who he's hitting and being able to go himself was one of the reasons why I think they won that game on the weekend. So knowing that the Canterbury side and how well they are defensively, you'd have to think that they're going to be really good in and around that hard defence. But I think if they're able to get, somewhat quick ball, physicality at the breakdown, being able to get over the advantage line, getting high cleans and bringing Falau to get in around that ruck, I do give them a chance with what I saw on the weekend. But it's a tough task going down to Canterbury. And I think Canterbury as well, they'll know that they probably got away with one there with the sloppiness that they did play. I know the win was tough, but you have to think that you're probably going to see a little bit more fine-tuning and them being a little bit more good around the execution, especially with what we probably saw in that extra time, and that more so being the Canterbury that we do see in the semi-final.
75% gain line, 31% dominant tackles opens up opportunities for Falau Fakatava, but I think a player that has been more influential on Falau performing is McClutchy. And I feel like McClutchy is such a Rasley player himself. He reacts so well off Falau, and even if Falau runs into trouble, he's there as a nice little bailout for a sharp pass or a short pass. He's not sitting back watching it and isolating him, and I just think their combination, if the forwards can match Canterbury, this Canterbury pack is not going to be happy. Yeah. So I think up front Parsons, but if they can deliver that dominance, Hawke's Bay probably have the more experienced 9-10 pairing, which you'd think in a game like this they will know how to dictate terms. The problem being it's at night, which isn't that impactful for Hawke's Bay, but it does suit Canterbury. It brings the best out of Canterbury because their game's based around that dew and that kick. So,
Brenna, do you think that Hawke's Bay will do it, or do you think they just can do it?
For Hawke's Bay to get the job done, they're just going to be on for the whole 80 minutes. All the effort areas, all the little battles, all the little momentum shifts, not being able to have a snowball effect for periods of time, that's kind of what's going to be required for this Hawke's Bay group. And, they've done it. They've been able to play shield rugby over the last couple of years. They get an understanding of what it's like to be in pressure situations, but I think it's just a step too far, considering maybe if it is a little bit later in the day, the contestable game, the suffocation game, which probably Canterbury with their set piece, being able to go to that, it might be a little bit too much for them. But to give them a massive chance, if they can win that physicality breakdown battle and get Falau and McClutchy being able to play on top of teams and then open up their back line with Sullivan and Co out wide and low, they've got every chance to go down there and get the job done.
Discipline as well. That'll play into Canterbury's hand. If you give penalties away, they'll just keep. So they had a high penalty count. Look, they go after it. They won't die wondering like Hawke's Bay will go after it, but that does. They'll have to be very accurate, especially defensively. I think they can do it. Man, that was a hell of a game. 100 minutes, shorter turnaround. That'll have an impact. And yeah, I just think if the pack can match it, that Falau, Fakatava and McClutchy combo with Azan Sullivan is looking pretty red hot.
You mentioned Devin Flanders. That guy is an absolute machine.
Oh, man. He's so good. He's so good. Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but like he's just constantly on the go. You talk about big moment. Well, I talk about players that can do big moments. He lives for them. Sometimes unseen with a clean out or a tackle or work off the ball desperately out of camera shot to get across and make a tackle. He's just the complete sort of package you want, and they follow him.
Yeah.
They follow him. I think, I'm not just saying this because my cousin, I think Tom has played a massive season as well, in terms of the work and the tough carries and the tough tackles he gets through his work at the breakdown. And now Devery's back as a core leadership spine of that pack. They're peaking at the right time.